What is going on, everybody? So actually the iPhone 5 was released about 6 years ago. Starting today, actually it's starting tomorrow, but I'm not going to be able to cover it tomorrow because I'm getting the XS and XS Max, and I don't want to just show no love to the iPhone 5. But this phone honestly did bring a lot to the whole entire industry of Apple and just iPhones in general. And I kind of want to talk about a little bit of the impact that it had. And this phone came out in 2012. It really signified, just how crazy of a phone Apple can produce. Now, if you look at it now, you'd imagine like, oh, it's like just a regular phone. It looks like an iPod, this and that. But honestly, if you ever felt one in real life, you would know just how premium this thing feels. And I honestly think that if I needed a backup phone for some reason, I could probably use an iPhone 5. Just the overall fluidity and everything of it is still fairly solid. It's not getting any more software updates or anything, but that's perfectly fine. I think iOS 10.3.3 was a very good stopping point of the iPhone 5. If you guys want to throw back, look at this control center, like looking at, I honestly kind of miss it a little bit, but I remember when I had my daily driver for like the 6 Plus or something, I always hated going, like getting into the music this way. It was just so annoying. I'm glad they fixed it on iOS 11, but in case you guys don't know where the iPhone 5 got its inspiration from, it was the iPhone 4. And I don't know if this is the 4 or the 4S, but this was pretty much what we had before, and pretty heavy. It had a 3.5 inch screen. I don't even think it's charged. But you can look, this thing feels very premium as well. But going from an iPhone 4 or even a 4S to an iPhone 5 is pretty insane. The biggest change was probably the charging port. You can see we have that 30-pin connector up here, and they switched it to the lightning charger on the iPhone 5, and that in and of itself is a humongous upgrade. Think about how much we use lightning. That's the only port we have on the new iPhones. We don't have a headphone jack anymore. And they actually did move the headphone jack from the top to the bottom on the iPhone 5 where I liked it previously, but they took it out eventually. But this is the phone that started it all, and I remember when people used to actually get the iPhone 5, they're like, oh, this is horrible, we have to get a new charger, this and that, but now look, we got accustomed to it. And now I would say as a whole, we got accustomed to the headphone jack thing too. But the upgrades were crazy, and I really think the iPhone 4 probably felt the heaviest out of the two, but it was definitely not as premium. The iPhone 5 really brought a lot. And I made a video about how the iPhone 5 lived its best life, and I still believe that. I think the iPhone 5 started off in a not so horrible place. I believe it started off getting iOS 5 or 6 or something, and then it stopped at iOS 10.3.3, which is a very good stopping point. As you know, it's very stable. I really had no issues with it whatsoever. The animations are a little weird sometimes, but I think as a whole, the iPhone 5 was perfectly fine on iOS 10.3.3, and I'm glad it did not go further, because if it did, we might have seen it, bug out on iOS 11, and there was no way Apple was going to support it for iOS 12. But as far as the specs go, it's nothing too crazy. We had just 1 GB of RAM. We had a 4-inch screen, which was, okay. But this was the first time we saw a screen increase, and we saw another screen increase only 2 years later after, up to 4.7-inch screen. This was a 4-inch screen, so it went from 3.5 inches to 4 inches, and it's not a horrible screen at all. If you look closely, you might be able to see some of the pixels, but as a whole, because the screen is so small, you won't really be able to tell just because the pixels are kind of like pressed together. I think that's a theory of mine, I remember. But versus like something like an iPhone XR where the screen is spread out, it's going to be a little bit easier to see it, I think. But this screen isn't horrible at all. And this isn't like an updated review or anything, just kind of talking about the past, but I think the overall performance is good too. I think I still have the old Snapchat on here. Yeah, I think I still have the old one, dude. I could sell this phone for like $1 billion. But I think overall, dude, like this phone did bring a lot. Was it the most impactful? Not really, but it did bring a humongous amount. I think the iPhone 4 was the most impactful, but this phone brought the bigger screen, the lightning charger, the new Apple, I think it was the Apple A6 chip, I believe, I don't really remember. But I think the biggest thing this phone brought was the screen increase, because we still had the iPhone SE, which sold up until like a week ago, and that had a 4-inch screen too, and that body pretty much resembled this body. And I think this space gray color was super sick. If you look at it, it looks like something like from a movie. It looks so mean. And we had the glass on the back and glass on the bottom too. That's such a nice little touch, and I'm so glad they actually kept that. So as a whole, this phone definitely brought a lot. I think this is one of those phones that's probably like top 3, top 5 most impactful iPhones. I think the first one probably is the iPhone 4. And I would probably put the iPhone 10 up there now too, because that's kind of the wave we're going. But the iPhone 5 100% is an awesome phone. And like I said, if I needed for some reason a backup phone, I could probably still use it. And that just goes to show how amazing this phone is. It's probably not, it has been supported in over a year, and we can still go back to this phone and be like, wow, this is still a very, very good phone. The speeds are good, everything. I did actually run a benchmark at one point. I don't really remember and I don't think the score was that high, but okay, yeah, 23,000 if you think about it. That's really low. That's like the difference I usually get from when I do like an iPhone 10 benchmark. There's usually like a 20,000 point difference from like the previous iOS version in the next one, and you can see it's pretty low, but it doesn't feel like it's that low, which is so weird because you would expect it to be crazy low, but it's not. Animations are super smooth. Animations are perfectly fine. I mean, there's a little bit of glitchiness, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not horrible. And that's pretty much it. I mean, just kind of a little throwback to the iPhone 5. I love this phone. I've had a lot of memories with it. I never had it as a daily driver, but I've owned this one for a very long time, and I can tell you this phone is freaking awesome. If you guys have any questions, or you love me, or you love this phone, leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to read your opinions or something. Hit that like button, that don't mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count. And if you love iPhones, if you love iOS, if you love Apple, subscribe to this channel, dude. I talk a lot about it. I'm getting the XS and XS Max literally tonight or tomorrow. I don't really remember when it's coming out. And I'm going to do so many comparisons with it. If you want to see me compare the iPhone 5 to the XS, leave a like. If this video gets like 300, I don't know how many views it's going to get, but like 300 likes, I'll do it. I'll either do it on this channel or my second channel, which is the low-fi Alpaca. That is also linked down in the description as well. You guys can get to it by just clicking that link. Also, check out the other links down there, my Twitter, my Instagram, but more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out to them.